You remember that moment at the end of the last episode where we look back at our 15 Champions League points, getting us in the home advantage for the second leg, and thought, do you know what? We've got a decent chance because of the 8 sides we could face. Only Bayern are really an elite team at the minute. Well, I bet you can't guess who we've drawn. Yes, hello and welcome along to part 176 of this Build a Nation story, Lifting Spirits with me, Daniel. We are back today with the most unfortunate draw you could imagine in a Champions League. We've got Julian Nagelsmann's Bayern Munich back to back as we try and make it to the last 16. It just feels like things are conspiring against us here, but we're going to try our best to get through, hopefully make it to the latter stages. But what an unfortunate draw we've had. If you're looking forward to seeing if we can do it, how the Irish transfer window finished for the other sides in the nation, then please do put a thumbs up on the video. We've played a few games off camera, we'll review those, we'll have a look at who the other Northern Irish sides have drawn in Europe, and of course we'll reflect on our squad for Europe because we've got 4 new signings in, and we could only register 3 of them, as you could see. So let's start by having a look at our results because we've only played a few domestic fixtures since the last one. We have back-to-back 2-1 wins against Leverkusen and St Etienne. You saw those on camera. Since then, we beat Linfield 6-0 in the SPFL Trophy, but they played in Europe the night before, which was more important to them. They did win that game. It wasn't enough to get through. We beat Larne 1-0 thanks to a late Rivera goal, his first for the club. 4-0 against Ballymena, 7-0 against Newry in the Cup, and 4-0 against Dungannon Swifts, which was a pretty comfortable one as well. I did mention in the last episode that Matthew Freeman didn't score many, but he scored in the Irish Cup. It was only his second for the football club. That's how few he scores for us, but just in case you wanted of an indicator, that's how good he is now. This kid has really improved massively and is probably a low-level Premier League fullback, and he's still only 19 years of age. That's us out the way quickly though. We didn't do anything at the end of the transfer window in terms of ins. In terms of outs, there was one youngster who went out on loan in addition to Shane Lowry who went to Coleraine. And there's also one potentially going out now in Eamon Caulfield. But we've got the wonder kid coming in the summer to replace Declan Curtis who goes to Derry City. For now though, let's have a look at the other sides in the nation. And we start with how they finished the transfer window because we had that big deal at the end of the last episode where Linfield probably signed their first superstar of the save. And to be fair to him, he is having a bit of an impact already. He's a very good young striker. But since then, very disappointing on deadline day. $250,000 spelled by Coleraine on a striker who's good, but maybe not great. He comes in from League One and Southend in England. Be lovely to see them back up there in real life, wouldn't it? They also bought in a youngster from Larne for a few grand. Linfield sold a few on. Glentoran let a couple go. And the only other real addition was Larne loaned in a defender. Now, Larne normally loan in a brilliant player in a January window. That one's a bit more average. So, really was a disappointing end to the window. After that first big sign-in from Linfield, you thought maybe they'll push on. And then nothing happens. It's disappointing. But let's have a look at a draw that these guys have got in Europa Conference. Because for Larne, it's a winnable game against your Gardens. I would expect them to get through in that tie. For Glentoran, bit trickier against Red Star, but again, at the stage we're at, don't forget the Northern Irish Prem is a more reputable league than that, and these 5 sides are all professional, so they should really be getting the results. Glentoran have got a centre forward in our international team, they've got other good strikers as well, they've also got a few of our former youth players, so they should be competing. And then finally, Coleraine, who got through as well, they will be facing Olympique Marseille. I think they might have got the short straw there. Although, in fact, I think one of them did draw against Marseille earlier in the year. Might have been Larne. But either way, that's what the other sides have got to come. We have got to worry about Bayern Munich. We have got so unfortunate with this draw, I can't even explain. If you look at the other sides in that left-hand column, we've already beaten Leverkusen and Atletico this year. Rangers we would have been the better side against. Augsburg I would have fancied my chances. Porto and Sevilla probably the same. Atalanta's a tricky tie, but the Italian league isn't in the best shape and they're not as good as Milan, who we've competed against. It is literally the one disastrous tie we could have got, and we've actually been punished now for finishing in the top 16. Let's go and get through to the first leg though, because if ever there's a time for an experiment, Well, it's now, isn't it? Away in a big Champions League game. We can't stick with what we've been doing away from home. It hasn't been working in Europe. So let's go for this. This is the tactic that I absolutely love. It is the Luton tactic from real life last season, and it is a save we've used in our Twitch save and with Bristol City at points as well. It's a tactic that I really like in real life. It's a tactic that I like in FM. And I feel like away from home in Europe, it gives us a better chance. Now, it's only possible because of the two wing-backs we've brought in during the season. And that's kind of shaped our decisions when it comes to picking a squad for this, because we had 4 new players to register. Puric was going to be needed as an extra centre-half. The 2 wing-backs were going to be needed. So the young Uruguayan striker Rodriguez, who on paper is probably the best of the 4 players, is the one who's had to miss out on the squad. He's not happy about it, but he's forgiven us, so that's all we can really ask. We've also got problems with squad fitness because thanks to the wonders of scheduling in this game, we actually played a game last night. We've had 24 hours off. We've got loads of players knackered on the bench, a few that can't make it, 1 who's suspended, and a few popping back from injury. So we're near enough down to the bare bones here. But this is what I've decided to go for. I'm hoping it'll work okay. It's a much lower defensive line. It's a much more cautious tactic overall, but it still allows for the counter-attacking and the quality on the break. So this is the 11 in full. It is David Ekon in goal, Puric and Schweb either side of O'Donnell as centre-half, with Houston sitting in front of them. Timoveyev and Rivera, the new boys at wing-back, with Montero and Sinter sitting in centre midfield, and then Hendry and Ademir at the front two. We're going to go balance for now. We're going to see how we get on. This has the promise to be a very big tie, and if we get through it, maybe the confidence will build. Over to the first leg in Germany. Bayern Munich will not be an easy game. We're here are the teams for today's matches, and Bayern are brilliant. They've got players like Ricardo on the best part of $500,000 a week. Stridi's brilliant at left back. I mean, they're just quality all over. But for us, we've got to focus on what we can do. We are using a brand new tactic for, I think, the first ever time in its current guise at least, but we have used it in other saves before. We know it's a strong tactic. It's just whether our boys can adapt to it because we've been training it for quite a while. Let's go and get through the tunnel interview, through the music, and into the first half highlights. Hopefully, there won't be many of them. We're just 3 minutes on the clock and we're back there winning the ball in the middle, and it was part of my thought process today. We're going to be a little bit exposed out wide, but we've got so many in the middle, it might help as Hendry breaks away here. 5 up in support. Xavier's one of them. Xavier Sinter. Oh no. Why did Ademir put a touch on it? He was offside. It's going to be disallowed. I'm not sure he needed to touch that. I think Xavier's shot was on target. Please let it count. Oh, it does count. I take it all back. Balicci judged it perfectly. 1-0 Lisburn Distillery. And we strike again, but it's a free kick straight down the other end. Big ball into the box. Houston heads away, only as far as Menya. He finds Farias, edge of the box. We need to hold this lead for a while. It doesn't look likely. Although Takakura puts one just wide. We survive it. Been an even start so far, but crucially, we've got the goal. Well, another free kick for Bayern. 10 minutes to the break, and I tell you what, bar a couple of set pieces, we've not seen anything from Bayern Munich yet. We've got to be very happy. Nagelsmann doesn't look it at the minute. But we've got our chance, though. Xavier's given the ball away, edge of his own box. What are you doing? Ricardo gets it back to Takakura. Into the edge of the box to Ragus. Do not let this cost us. Do not give away a goal like that. Timofeyev wins it back. Great football. And plays it back to Schweb, who's got a chance to go downfield. He finds Timofeyev again. Option inside is Montero. Goes himself, though, and then the big switch to Rivera. He's on a yellow, but we've got more cover on the right. As Sinter gets the cross in for Hendry. Now, he looked offside as well. I judged the first one wrong, but he definitely looked offside. Is this goal going to be given? It's Dreamland if it is. Hello, shiny tactic. What have I said throughout this FM? The 3-5-2 is the most overpowered tactic in Football Manager this year. I'm not even playing the same instructions. In the Bristol City one, we were playing shorter passing football. In this one, we're playing a bit more direct. You saw the big switch and the hoof down the line. And on this one, we're getting midfielders both in support, leaving our back three exposed a bit more. In the other one, we were protecting it. But crucially, we are 2-0 up. And no, we've not created many chances. The ones we have are good. And I think that's the beauty of this tactic. where you've got two in the box and at least one supporting midfielder, yes, you might not be creating as many chances as you would in other ones. You're creating great ones as Xavier's peeled off the midfield again. Xavier Sinter. Oh, it's Dreamland. It is Bayern Munich 0, Lisburn Distillery 3. Maybe there's a reason Bayern Munich were in this side of the draw. Maybe there's a reason they finished 17th or below. But what a way to take advantage. We've had 7 shots, 6 on target, 3 goals. Although, hang on, Bayern are in here. Ekon off the line by Schweb. Oh, we're benefiting from the extra defender too. Let's make a couple of changes because both wing-backs are on a yellow. I don't really have any cover on the left, but on the right, we can bring on Matthew Freeman, who's the more defensive option. Xavier's played brilliantly, but he is knackered now. So Klaus Bayervank will get a run out in there. But I guess with the 4 January signings, this is the beauty now. The 2 players we're bringing on are just as good as the 2 that have gone off. I would have liked an extra option in holding midfield, but it's not to be. If we'd had everyone fit, then maybe Schweb could have gone in the middle and Thompson could have come on centre-half. But for now, we're going to stick with it as it is. We'll see out another 10 minutes. It's been a dream performance so far. Bayern have had loads of shots. They've had loads of efforts on target. They've had more of the ball, but they've done nothing with it. With 15 to go, we are going to make another change. I'm going to put Azier on the left of a back 3 and push Schweb into holding midfield because Houston's knackered. Maybe I'll take off Montero midfield. He's got a yellow card. Again, though, what options have we got? We've not even got any other centre midfielders fit. So I might bring Bo Harris on for him just to try and see it out. But I'm not sure what the better options are here. This is the problem with the 2 games in 24 hours. The fitness is all over the shop. Mercifully, we've got 6 days off now. I'm going to bring off Declan Hendry because he's knackered. He's so important to our team. And while Scully is returning, I'm going to go for Merrival Austin this time. 7 minutes plus stoppage time. We don't need to score more goals. If we can keep the clean sheet or even keep them to 1, as Merrival Austin nicks it from a free kick, it might get better. Ademir Belikci down the right, and he's got support from Harris. Inside to Schweb. Through to Bayervan. Great football. Ademir Belikci. Oh, the flag's up. VAR will rule this out. If the Lino's flag goes up, you know it's going to be ruled out. I mean, that would have just been too good to be true. It's marvellous football as well. Oh, I thought he'd awarded it. The referee didn't do his signal. It's goal disallowed. It's 3-0. It is the best European performance by a very long way. It's a demolition job. And at home to Bayern Munich, we can go back to what we know and do at home. And we should well be through to the last 16. There's a reason Bayern were struggling. But that is our best night at a save. Let's get ahead to the second leg and make sure there's no slip-ups. Well, we're back for the second leg, and I've had a slight change of heart because I was going to go back to our 4-2-3-1, but then I thought about it logically and I went, hang on, we've just played Bayern off the park. We've dominated them with a back 3. We've brought players in this season specifically for it. Let's stick with it and see if it works at home. After all, it probably is a good home game to experiment a little. Very quickly before we get into it though, let's have a look at how the other sides got on in Europe. Larn were the big winners last Thursday. They won 6-2 away in Sweden at Djurgårdens. They should be through to the last 16. Same's not the case for the other 2 though. Glentoran lost 2-0 at home to Red Star, which is a really disappointing result. They've now got a lot of work to do away from home. And Coleraine, probably as you expected, beaten heavily by Marseille. 3-0 was the defeat in that one. So possibly only one other side getting through. Glentoran have got the better side, so maybe on the road they can do something. But for now, we go into our second leg against Bayern, a game that should be won on paper, but we've seen heartbreak before in this save. I'm not getting too excited. The only changes I've made are to bring Freeman in at right wing back for Rivera. If he's going to get a suspension, it might as well be now. And then in midfield, I've brought Schweb into the holding role. Azier comes in at left centre half, and Houston is the man to drop out for them. The rest of the team stays the same, with Matulovic coming back on the bench after suspension because why would we change much? We were brilliant last week. Let's see if we can back it up at home. We should be going to Windsor Park now. Now let's see if we get a big crowd. I think it said 22,000. And that is part of the annoyance of this save. If we hadn't had the glitch in the group stages, we probably would have made an extra 2 or 3 million each year. But as it is, we have got a very good side out. We know we've got the beating of them. They've put out a fairly similar team to last week, might even be the same. I want more of the same. The lads are inspired, so let's get through the music and into the first half highlights. We're just over 5 minutes on the clock and we're back with Bayern playing out. It looks like they've gone for a very aggressive 4-2-3-1. The wingers are really high and that might be a problem against the back three, but not if Timofeyev wins it back like that. Now he's on the charge. He puts in Montero, support in the middle. He doesn't need it. Christian Montero, his third goal of the year. This tactic really allows him to be more advanced, which means he shouldn't lose the ball near the back as much. And he can also contribute to the attack. Christian Montero with the goal that should seal it. It's 4-0 on aggregate with 10 minutes gone. Well, the best news I can report since that opener is that with 5 to the break, yes, Bayern have had a couple of shots, but there's been no highlights, there's been no dominance. It's just been shots and possession for the sake of it. For us, we are 1-0 up. Yes, we've taken our only chance, but you can see why I don't love this tactic at home, but maybe this is what we've got to do in Europe. Stop worrying about playing well, scoring, making the most of all our attacking talent, and just be efficient. We're going to get through another 10 minutes or so. Ademir and Freeman are on a yellow, so we'll take them off if we can. And then the rest of the team we'll just stick with, and we'll go based on fitness. We've only got an SPFL game on Sunday. There's not a huge worry about that. As Hendry's in, it's a good save from Arlen. And it's gone wide for a corner kick, but we're playing really well. We have to enjoy nights like this. As Sinter has got a corner kick. It'll go to the back post. Trying to work out what that Munich flag up is there in the corner. It looks like a Spanish flag. As Puric gets it on the edge of the box. Plays back to Timofeyev. And he can't do anything with it. It's been a very quiet game so far. And I'm thrilled with that after the first leg. As we've got a set piece with Leo O'Donnell up. Brilliant save by the keeper. And it's out for a throw-in. It could have been the moment to seal it. But for now, with an hour gone, you've got to think we're through. We'll make some changes in a minute. As the header's up, hang on a minute. Might be a goal back here. Schweb does the right thing. Azier did enough with the initial block. Schweb, under pressure, smashes it out for a corner. We'll deal with that. Look at these Distillery fans in Windsor Park. It's a beautiful sight. If only we hadn't been losing all that money from not having them here for the last few years. As back it goes to Streidel. Into midfield again. Still no update on that stadium upgrade, by the way. As it's back to the edge of the box. Xavier does well. Big clearance and nobody's up there. Hendry will chase it down. 4-0, just over 25 to go. I think it's time for some substitutes. Well, Declan Henry is definitely one of those struggling physically, and Belicci is on a yellow, so I'm going to replace both of them with Paleka and Miraval Austin. I'm also going to look in midfield because we've got to think about fitness here. Puric is naturally fit, so I'm not as worried about him. Schweb in the holding role should be fine. Maybe Freeman because he's on that yellow as well. We'll bring on Gavin Reed this time. More defensive than Rivera. Timofeyev on the left again. We've not really got an option. Matulovic probably could play a bit deeper, but not with any great aplomb. And then in midfield, Sinter's not had as good a game this time, so we'll bring on Bayervang for him. We've made 4 changes. We'll save one in case of an injury later on. But Bayern Munich have got a free kick, and they are growing into this game as Rodriguez hits the post. We've got away with one there. O'Donnell manages to get it clear. And if I'm being honest with you, they've deserved a goal out of this game. At the moment, they haven't got it, though. And we are getting away with one. As Dela Cruz with a shot, just wide of the post. Schweb will probably be the last change here. Although I could take off Montero in the middle. No, Schweb physically really struggling now. On comes Chris Houston in a holding role. We have got 10 minutes plus stoppages to go. And even in our worst nightmares now, we shouldn't be able to concede 4. We've not deserved to win this home leg. And I am inclined after this to go back to the 4-2-3-1 at home. But away from home, we found our tactic. Maybe it was just a great night. But we've got through Bayern Munich, by the looks of it, pretty comfortably. They've got a chance on the edge, though, and they do get their consolation. After all the great chances they've had, it's an absolute screamer to get one back. It's 1-1 on the night, which does harm the coefficient a little. But on aggregate, if you'd have offered me a 4-1 win against Bayern, I would have snapped your hand off for it in whichever means it came. A brilliant result, particularly away in Germany. Now let's go and see when we're next going to be back, because I think the last 16 might feature. Well, if I'm honest, I'm looking at the schedule we've got for the rest of this month and for March, and I'm thinking we're going to have a lot of games that are 24 hours apart. It annoys me that we've had 6 days off here, when we could have played a game against, say, a Crusaders, a Portadown, whoever it may be. And then we're going to end up with 2 games back-to-back with the Champions League fixtures. Thankfully now, with the change of tactic and that, we've got a big enough squad to cope. Those 4 signings in January have made a real difference. But crucially, we are through to the last 16. We are making progress as a nation. And Lahn's win means the coefficient is looking pretty good as well. I'll show you where it is at the moment. We're in 10th place, but this season, we're about to lose our best year, but we've almost matched the total. And that should keep us in that top 10, albeit at the moment, Greece are scheduled to overtake us. So we do need to produce something to get past them, Belgium or the Czech Republic. We won't worry about that too much for now though, because we are doing a terrific job. We're going to be back for the last 16 at the Champions League. Hopefully Glentoran produce a miracle, but Lahn will be through at the very least. If you're looking forward to seeing how we get on and whether we can finish this save with true competitiveness in a Champions League, then please do put a thumbs up on it. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the performances and whether we should just stick with that new tactic away from home. I'll be interested to get your thoughts on that. If you want to stay up to date and see how we get on, subscribe and turn that notification bell on. There's loads of FM24 save ideas and related stuff up in the eye above, as well as the Twitch channel and the football podcast too. You can pre-order FM24 using my link down in the description now for 18% off Steam prices. And we'll be back at the same time tomorrow as the Champions League run continues. Fingers crossed, the next draw will be a bit kinder to us.